Hi, I'm Dion from Evolution Support Services, and welcome to this informative video on the tapping points that we use in EFT tapping. You may see that I'm tapping on a few extra points or points that you might not be sure where to locate, whether you're tapping along with the videos or wanting to tap by yourself. And I hope to answer some of these questions for you. So we'll jump straight into the tapping points, and with all EFT tapping videos, we start with the setup statement. And it also starts with our first point, which is the side of the hand. Now, how I was trained is we name this the side of the hand point. Other people might refer it to it being the karate chop point, but it's not so much a good way of referring to it as far as cultural. And even with karate, they don't tend to scream that before they break a block. So we refer to it as the side of the hand point. So we're stimulating the first point, which is the side of the hand. And you can use all of your four fingers while stimulating that. Our next point, after we've done our setup statement, is going into the actual points. Where you start on the body is up to you, but I tend to start at the top of the head point, located at the top of the head. Now you can use open fingers or a closed palm. This just ensures that if we're not tapping directly on the point, that at least we might get it at on one of the fingers. So it's right at the top of the head. Our next point is the middle of the eyebrow point, located in the middle of the eyebrow. We're just tapping lightly. There's no need for force or causing any form of discomfort. The harder you tap doesn't really increase the stimulation, it just increases pain. Our next point is the side of the eyebrow point. There is a little ridge bone of bone next to our eye sockets, and that soft part behind that is tapping on that. Our next point is the below the eye point or just below the pupil. So there, not in that soft part there, just on that bone part. Our next is the below the nose point. So we're tapping directly below the nose. If I didn't have a beard, most people's mouths have that little U curve. We're just tapping on that in the flesh, that little indent. Our next one is the chin point, so just below the lip. The next one can be tricky to find, as it's known as the collarbone point, and kind of tricky to find, show on video, but I'll do my best. So where your collarbone joins into the sternum or that little breastplate bone there, or cartilage. So you've got your collarbone joining into that sternum, and there's a little bit of a little indent, a little soft point just below the collarbone joining to the sternum at the top. So we're not tapping on the bone, we're tapping just below on that soft part where the collarbone joins into the sternum. It's a tricky one to find. And you can either tap with one hand or two hands. It really doesn't matter. What works best for you? Our next point is the under the arm point. Good. A nice easy way to find this is place your hand underneath your armpit, place your other hand there. You've now got the point. Now you can either tap with one hand or two hands, giving yourself a tapping hug. Our next tapping point is called the below the nipple point or chest point. Named that way because it's literally below the nipple. So tapping there. If you're a lady with a bigger bust and it's harder to tap directly under there, where your bra line is, make some pistol fingers going underneath the bra line, and where your fingers are, the fingertips are, you've now got the point. We now have the finger points, and these are literally just named after the fingers, although the thumb is not a finger if we want to be technical. We have the thumb point. So the top of the nail, so your hand is facing up that way, you've got the edge of the nail there, you're tapping on the not the nail, but the flesh part of the finger. You've got the next finger, the next finger. Now the ring finger, the reason I skipped this is the point is not there, it's there. And for convenience, rather than going in a video, it's just easier to skip that. All these points are related. So if you miss one point, you'll get it on the next point. And we typically do the next hand in the exact same way, tapping on the side of where the fingernail is. So that's generally all the points. We would, of course, finish with in mind, body, and spirit at the top of the head, or mind, body, spirit. It really, what feels nice to you. The setup statements are kind of an affirmation that set what the problem is and what we're going to be still affirming as, like, even though I have this, I'm still a great person. So it's working what's personal for you. Whilst we're tapping on these different points, we're focusing on the limiting beliefs. So we're, once again, reducing that limbic system fight, flight, freeze response to any limiting belief that we have that's stopping us from actually mobilizing into what we want. Now, as you can see, there's the different points that I'm tapping on. I was trained to tap on these points. Other practitioners might have different training where they won't do the chest points or the finger points, or they might have their training and they choose to do their own way. So with these points, I can't go into too much detail about how they relate into the body because I'm not trained in acupuncture. I'm trained in EFT tapping. But say, for example, this point here, the chest point, very good for stimulating if there's any anger in the body sort of thing. It's a good little stress release valve. You might find some points work really well for you, and you could probably spend a little bit more time on that point. If you miss a point, it's no big deal. We're stimulating all the points and we're stimulating that release throughout the body. So if you don't get the thumb point, or you thought you got that finger but you're actually tapping on that finger, it doesn't matter because you might get it on the next hand. You might get it at the top of the head. Focusing internally on a limiting belief, whereas you're not saying it out loud, you can do that because every thought that we have creates a stress response in the body. Cortisol will be released from that. So if you have a lot of worrying thoughts, you're probably going to have a lot of limiting, constricting feelings in the body. It's even better to say it out loud. So if we're working one-on-one, we would be repeating out the limiting beliefs as we're tapping. And in doing that, empowering your own voice, hearing what you're saying, hearing some of the concerns that are concerning you, it has more of an effect on the body whilst we're tapping. You can hear those words that sometimes get said internally, and we can release it. As a one-on-one, I'd also be looking at how the body is responding to some of these emotions. Now, of course, there's other tapping points that I'm trained in when it comes to the 9-gamut technique, where someone might have an emotional overwhelm to help bring them back online. But once again, that's best worked with a one-on-one practitioner. I'm not holding it back because I want to keep all the secret information. It's just, if you're having the emotional overwhelm, it's kind of hard to start to bring yourself back from that. If you wanted to do it away from the videos and you're having concerns of like, well, I've got to think up all the things that Dion says and all that, and I can't do it for that long, or I can't think of all these words to say, it really can be just as simple as this stress that I'm feeling. I'm feeling really stressed right now. I don't know what's stressing me. It's so stressful, the stress. It can be as simple as this. If you've got anger, for example, I'm really angry. I'm so angry right now. It can be just the feeling or emotion and tapping upon that. Or you might want to write down something that's troubling you and maybe brainstorm it. And all those brainstorming points of what is related to that one issue, you could use that in an EFT tapping. I'm really angry. It's like, they didn't give me what I wanted. I wanted my latte and they gave me a cappuccino. All these sorts of things that you can work in. So it's ways that you can actually incorporate EFT into your day-to-day life where you don't become dependent either on the video or needing to book into sessions. It's always great to book into sessions. I'll always hammer that in because we're going a bit more deeper in where there might be some issues that we don't quite want to go into yet. So there's other techniques in EFT tapping that we can slowly work into that. If we're having pain in the body, for example, there's a chase the pain technique. If we don't want to address something, there's the movie technique, for example, things that a practitioner would be trained in. But the basic EFT tapping formula of just tapping on the points whilst focusing on the limiting beliefs is a great thing in your day-to-day life. If you're driving in the car and you can't go, well, I can't actually, tap whilst I've got the stress whilst you're parked at the lights, you can stimulate these points by just squeezing whilst holding the wheel. You can focus on a limiting belief, or you might just get benefit from stimulating these points. Or if you're in a meeting, I'm currently stimulating the points right now. Can you tell? So it's ways of de-stressing in our day-to-day life. And all of these things help lessen that immobilization, gets you more mobile from freeing yourself from that stress. If you're wanting to book in, just go on over to Inflation Support Services and book yourself in, and we can deal more specifically with your issues. That way you get more of a tailored professional approach towards your stresses. So I'm down from Inflation Support Services, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next EFT tapping video. Bye for now.